She's a whack job.
I mean, you're seeing these shenanigans with Proctor where he's getting due process that you and I would never get.
Disgusting.
The U.S. attorney had somehow infiltrated his personal cell phone.
Even a dirtbag.
These are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Is there a policy or regulation prohibiting the way that you speak to friends and family on your personal cell phone?
There is not.
Karen Reed's lead investigator, state police dishonorably discharged Michael Proctor, fights to get his job back in a hearing. What's going to happen? What are the chances? And is anything really final?
You lost. And you know what you did.
Michael Proctor was let go, suspended without pay at the very end of Karen Reed's first trial. And then, after an investigation, Mr. Proctor was dishonorably discharged. So what's happening now? I am attorney Andrew Myers. This is About the Law. And in this episode, we're going to take a look at the procedure under which Michael Proctor is currently undergoing a series of hearings, which started the week that we are recording this episode and won't end until the end of February of this year. They say the wheels of justice drag on very slowly, and I guess that's true in this case. Mr. Proctor's appeal went to the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission, where the state police made it really clear they don't want him back. But Proctor's attorney said, hey, wait a minute, not fair, not fair. They went into his cell phone and ambushed him. Oh, really? Oh, really? So let's take a look. Massachusetts State Police Attorney Stephen Carley made it abundantly clear that they don't want Proctor back. And he used Proctor's own characterization. Don't you hate it when your own words are used against you? So this attorney said, okay, we're going to use Proctor's own characterization of his own conduct against him, and he did it right in front of the hearing officer.
Juvenile. Sexist. Disgusting. Dehumanizing. This selection of words does not come from a public comment section on a website, an op-ed columnist, or a protester outside the Norfolk County Courthouse. No, indeed, one would be forgiven for not immediately recognizing that these words are Michael Proctor's accounting of his own conduct in this case.
So what are the issues in this hearing? By the way, this is what they call a de novo hearing, and what that means is that's a Latin term for they're going back to the beginning, as though the state police trial board's machinations had never happened. So they're starting from square one. That's why we've seen, and we're going to see, some things we've seen before, but kind of in a different context. So Michael Proctor's own attorney, a fellow by the name of Daniel Moynihan, was fighting before this forum to get Mr. Proctor reinstated with the Massachusetts State Police. And he defended those now familiar crude texts, claiming Proctor was ambushed at the grand jury, that his phone had been surreptitiously infiltrated, strong words, by the feds.
You will hear that Michael Proctor was asked to testify in the federal grand jury proceeding as a witness only on February 1st, 2024. And when he appeared, he was shocked to discover that the U.S. attorney had somehow infiltrated his personal cell phone and surreptitiously obtained personal text messages on his personal cell phone. Now, we all have personal cell phones. We all have expectations of privacy on those personal cell phones. On February 1st of 24, Michael Proctor suddenly found in his mind that his privacy was violated. Since the disclosure of these text messages, the world has changed. other law enforcement officers, and people in all walks of life now shudder at the thought that a federal agency could infiltrate their personal phone.
So that seems to be the way Proctor's attorney, Mr. Moynihan, is trying to couch this issue to the Civil Service Commission. Not real sure they're buying it, but they are at least listening to it. Here's a question. Here's a question that Proctor seems to be posing to all of us, and that is it okay for your personal phone to be gotten into and extracted when, as he contends, and you'll hear more about this, Proctor contends that his personal messages, his personal, texts that involved some of his state police superiors, but mostly, going all the way back to his high school friends. Now, another issue certainly is, why was he of this state of mind that he had to text about this investigation? So that's certainly a major issue. But I'm asking you, my viewers, do you think it's okay for your personal phone to be extracted and for your personal private texts, messages, calls, photos to be used in a context such as this? Your employment, your profession, or your conduct during your professional employment. So tell me what you think down there. A, is that okay? And B, just tell me what you're thinking about this couching of the issue in this manner by Proctor. So Proctor was like I said before, this is a de novo hearing, meaning that the Civil Service Commission in Massachusetts on Cambridge Street is listening to everything for the first time, as though the first dishonorable discharge never happened. So Proctor had to sit and listen as State Police Attorney Carly played back audio and video of Proctor reading out loud those texts that we all who are following this case became familiar with during Karen Reed's first trial.
She hot at least? From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. Though, no ass.
And sir, what is it that you were referring to there, or why would you text them?
These were, from all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. Is talking about the homeowner, Mr. Albert. I had mentioned the compelling evidence against Ms. Reed at this point indicated that Mr. Albert had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death. The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have wrote in a private or any type of setting.
All right. So again, he had to sit and listen to all of this, for probably the umpteen millionth time, because that his attorney prepared him.
At some point, if I could turn your attention to page 2540.
It's Ms. Reed being escorted out of the State Police Milton Barracks. Question is that chick a smoke? Again, 4146 question mark. I respond EH. I respond again, nutbag, as Chief would say. I also respond with, she's got a leaky poo knot, leaks poo.
And what, if anything, is that in reference to?
Again, to Ms. Reed's some medical conditions there. Again, unprofessional comments I should not have made, that I'm not proud of.
Okay, and perhaps I should have said this at the beginning of that video clip, and that, of course, was the voice of Adam Lally, the initial prosecutor in the first Karen Reed case. Again, those of you who have been following this case understand that that was probably the reason that Mr. Proctor was placed on administrative leave the first time, suspended without pay, and then he was not terminated dishonorably discharged until March of 2025 after 3 months of hearings. Sounds like 3 months of hearings, but it was one hearing a month, January, February, and March of 2025. Now, in this proceeding, the Civil Service Commission appeal, the only witness for the first 2 days of the Proctor hearings was State Police Detective Lieutenant Kevin Dwyer, the state's chief investigator in the case. Proctor's attorney, Moynihan, attempted to score some points with that investigator.
So you concluded, did you not, that there was no evidence to show that Michael Proctor's personal feelings influenced his actual investigation in the case, correct?
Correct.
And you stated in your report after your investigation that there was no evidence to show that the police actions taken by Michael Proctor were directly influenced by his personal feelings about Canton Reed, correct?
Correct.
We have probably 1,000 pages of policy and regulations, correct?
Correct.
Is there a policy or regulation prohibiting the way that you speak to friends and family on your personal cell phone?
There is not.
But despite that, the argument of the Massachusetts State Police is that doesn't matter whether it's his personal cell phone or not. The fact is that he was talking about a current, ongoing, pending investigation to those not within the Massachusetts State Police and unassociated with that investigation. So that's an issue. That's a major issue that the hearings officer is going to have to sort through and come to a conclusion on. Now, these 2 days of hearings sometimes seemed very tedious as the participants slowly and deliberately went through their records and transcripts, and you could hear them turning the pages, then turning them back. At the end of it all, appearing on podcaster Mike Crawford's The Young Jurks, attorney Mark Bederow, who our viewers recognize, observed that it was all about a heightened level of due process and review accorded to state employees, including state police.
We don't have the protections that they certainly have in the union support and all of that, which I guess on some level you're seeing right now. I mean, you're seeing these shenanigans with Proctor where he's getting due process that you and I would never get.
Attorney Bederow went on to make a prediction as to Proctor's future if he does regain his employment.
I mean, he's entitled to do what he wants to do. Even a dirtbag, disgraced, corrupt cop is entitled to due process. All of us are. Everyone is. I mean, the system can't function without it. So let him have his due process. He'll never be a police officer again. I mean, even if he is reinstated, he can't function as a police officer. He will collect his back pay, whatever he's entitled to, and then resign a day later. I mean, we all know that, right? He's not going to literally work as a police officer. He knows that. We know that. I just think, I certainly hope that he loses. He's an embarrassment to the profession. You'll certainly be hearing a lot more about him in our motion papers and whatnot as well. He's become the poster child for law enforcement corruption, certainly in Massachusetts and perhaps beyond. I just think what he's doing is making a spectacle of the public's confidence in the criminal justice system. I mean, if he had any dignity, he would just go away. On the same token, though, he is entitled to due process. If he wants to try to get his job back symbolically to collect money, I get it. The system allows it. He's not doing anything he's not entitled to do, and I'm able to separate his legal right to do that with my personal belief that he's a scumbag, and if he had any dignity, he would go away. So I don't fault him for what he's doing, but the idea of him as an active duty police officer ever again, that's never going to happen.
Interesting point, and it's a really interesting point that I think most of my viewers in this legal channel understand, and that is no matter who it is, anyone that's accused of anything in our system in the United States under the Constitution is entitled to due process. Now, this is an administrative hearing, and it's a non-criminal matter, so we don't talk about, whether there's reasonable doubt. This is an administrative hearing, and one of the important things that Bederow had mentioned was that it's really kind of an aside, but we're all waiting for it. And he talked about a motion that he is writing. We all anticipate, expect, and have a very strong feeling that Attorney Bederow, who represents Aiden Turtleboy Kearney, is now writing a motion to dismiss based on extensive discovery failures by the Commonwealth. They produced 500 pages. They produced 5,000 pages, 4,000 of which were blank. That was remedied the day before another hearing, updating everyone on discovery. Mr. Bederow has called for an evidence hearing at which he would bring law enforcement and Mr. Proctor and Mr. Lally on the stand to question them as to what's going on with their failure to make discovery. Sound familiar? It's the kind of thing that happened in the Miles King case. 4.5 years after the charges against Miles King, material from 6 subpoenas was still not completely forthcoming. About 1.5 of the subpoenas were complied with. And so based on that and a lot of other evidence and failures by the Commonwealth to make discovery, we all expect that Mark Bederow is now at this time writing a motion to dismiss the Aiden Kearney Turtleboy case. We'll bring you that on this channel. We've been looking for it. I've been looking for it. I thought maybe it would be done by now, but no. Attorney Bederow has said that it's more important to spend the time on the substance of the motion than to meet any deadline, and that's an exemplary point of view to have. So that's where this matter with Michael Proctor stands now. 2 days of hearings, end of August 2025. Now there's an almost 2-month break. Nothing will happen in September. Nothing will happen in October until October 21st, the next date for a hearing for Mr. Proctor before the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission. So it'll be the 21st, and the commission has actually set aside 3 days, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Whether it requires all 3 days remains to be seen, but it's kind of a cliffhanger. So we did a live episode, and I'm going to talk more about the live episodes in a couple of minutes, but we did our first Tuesday night live episode this past Tuesday. We hope it becomes a regular feature. We're going to do another one this coming Tuesday starting at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. During that, Lainey Law did a poll. She took it upon herself to take a poll of those who were watching, and the question wasn't what you think. The question was, will the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission reinstate Mr. Proctor? And the results were 78% of the people who responded to our poll said no, they will not. 22% said they think that Mr. Proctor will be reinstated. So I'm going to ask you right now, our viewers, not what you think should happen, because I think a lot of people agree as to what should happen. The question here is, should the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission or will they reinstate Mr. Proctor? Will the CSC reinstate Mr. Proctor? Now, I was listening to the Grace Curley show. Grace wasn't there. Taylor Cormier was filling in for her. Mike Crawford was bouncing in and out. And their poll, the last I heard, didn't listen to the end of the show, still working, but their poll indicated that it was 70-30. 70% felt that the Civil Service Commission would not reinstate Mr. Proctor. 30% said they thought that they would. So, let's see, what else did I want to say in this episode? Again, do you think that off-duty police have an expectation of privacy? Do you think any profession, really, do you think that any profession, whether you're dealing with the public in the educational system, in academia, whether you're a police officer, should you be allowed to have personal, private conversations that never come to light? In other words, is there what the law calls a reasonable expectation of privacy with regard to your own cell phone and use of your cell phone, as happened here, pretty much while you're on the clock or even if you're home during the pendency of an investigation? So those are a couple of interesting questions that we leave to you. It is also a question that this hearings board will be listening to. Speaking of you, our viewers, What do you think this week? What's going on? Let's take a look at 5 viewer comments, and the first one is from Chezazax. I can't pronounce that. In any event, I think maybe it's a money getting his pension back thing. Hey, that's what Mark Bederow just said. And our viewer saw that and said, I think maybe it's a money getting his pension back thing rather than a reputation wanting his job back thing. So, the Massachusetts State Police do not want Mr. Proctor back. In the slide that you see in the left-hand lower corner, you see Daniel Moynihan and Michael Proctor leaving the court on a previous court appearance, although they didn't actually appear that day. They were ordered to be there, and they cooled their heels in the wings. In any event, will he get his pension? Will he get his job back? Will he get his job back? And is that all he wants, is the pension and the accrued benefits, and then he'll quit? I mean, wow, that kind of blows my mind to think of. Number 4, from Mark Jacques. They could assign him to the environmental police, which is part of Massachusetts State Police. Mark had another thought. Also, if by some miracle he gets his job back, he should be directing traffic on Dead Man's Curve in North Adams. And for those of you who don't know Massachusetts, North Adams is way out in the western part of the state. I forget how long of a drive from Boston, because it's been a long time. I've been there. I think it's about 2 hours. Not sure. Let me know down in the comments whether I'm right or wrong. But Bederow says no, that Proctor just wants to get in, get his accrued benefits, get his pension, get whatever he can, and then he'll resign. This guy says, no, give him a job. Give him a job. Maybe a desk job. I don't know. Comment number 3 this week, fan of the truth. The Commonwealth hid so many balls they can't remember where they are. And the Fed's message is, you made your corrupt bed, now lie in it. I would think that goes to the federal investigation, the feds, the FBI, although we couldn't hear from anyone about the fact that it was the FBI in Karen Reed's first trial or Karen Reed's second trial. The participants in the litigation were not allowed to mention the FBI. It was like that other investigative agency that was not the Canton police or the state police. So I think a lot of people in the jury put 2 and 2 together. But in any event, I think that's what fan of the truth means, is that the feds came in, took a look, shook their heads and said, hey, oy vey, let's get out of here. And that's pretty much what they did. Commenter number 2 from Maria Bankston Viking. Thanks, Maria, for being a regular. If Proctor seriously thinks that extraction of his private phone data is illegal and that the FBI was infiltrating, what has Proctor been doing this whole career except for going through Karen Reed's and all the other suspects' private phones and invaded their private spaces? 2-tier justice system. Good point. Good point. Good point. What's good for one is not good for the other. And, it would seem that people are thinking that, that's kind of nuts. And so now we go to comment number 1 from Sam D. Mom. Great first live stream. I didn't watch it live, but happy to watch it after the fact and see Mike Crawford as your first guest. And I was so happy to see Lally back. Yes, folks, if you haven't seen this, we're going to try and do lives. A little bit less formal. Yeah, we'll talk about the pending cases that we've been covering and others. For example, I haven't been doing any episodes on Adelson. It's a kind of crazy, complicated case. I'm kind of on top of it now, but I don't feel I'm on top of it enough to really cover it. I know a lot of other people are covering the trial, so you've got that. If you want me to start looking at that in our episodes, let me know. But the point is, we're going to start doing lives every Tuesday night, and Lainey Law will be co-hosting and producing. And she's just not available to do these weekend drop episodes anymore. She's not available at the time that we normally record, edit, produce the weekend episodes. So she's back. But as the co-host, host, producer of the Tuesday evening live episodes. So if you're a Laney fan, please join us live Tuesdays, 5 o'clock Eastern time for a live. If you can't, then please catch up to us on the replay. But Mike Crawford of the Young Jurks, who is really on top of stuff. He's been on top of not only the Karen Reed case, but many others. He was nice enough to be a guest for our first episode, and he provided, as he always does in his own channel, the Young Jurks, a lot of insight. The guy has a lot of background. He's been around a lot. And to point out how we try and lighten things up just a little bit, Mike substantively really knows what's going on in the matters that we talked about. And, the Proctor case was one that we focused on in our first live. But then we kind of broadened it out a little bit. I was surprised, and I hope this happens in our future lives. I was surprised that Mike knows a lot of people in the radio business. I used to work in the radio business, so we talked a lot about that. We talked about the old WBCN, alternative radio in Boston. So we kind of branched out and lightened it up and had a really, what I thought was an interesting conversation. So we hope to do that on our lives Tuesday nights. So enough of that. Mike is facing just some litigation that's unbelievable, and so he is attempting to raise money because the legal defense that is required to competently and professionally defend him is going to cost a pretty penny. So I am going to link down below in the details section, the link to his channel and the link to his fundraising effort. So I would highly recommend that you go over to his channel and contribute, watch, contribute, support. So the other thing that happened in the week that we're doing this podcast was that Karen Reed spoke for the first time in a public interview, and she just basically said, you know what, guys, you lost. She thanked all of her supporters, and she was asked by Howie Carr, where she did her first live interview. I've listened to Howie since the very beginning in the early 1990s, and Howie asked her, do you have anything you want to say to the prosecutors? And she said, you lost. You really lost, and you know what you did. So I thought that was interesting. So enough plugging myself. Our final slide here points out that we now have 80 countries that have reached out to us in the comment section and asked questions. And so if you are not on this list, it is alphabetized. And if you are from one of these countries that is not on the list, please let us know where you're from, and we will add you to the list. Okay, so that goes to another case. Okay, so that's pretty much for this episode. I thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm all alone in this episode because Yolie, who has joined us recently for most of our episodes, is a busy attorney, and she had other obligations she had to meet. As I said before, Laney is back for Tuesday night lives. She's unavailable. She's busy. She has other things that she's doing when we do these weekend episodes, but she is back. She'll be back on Tuesday night. So let's see. We always, at the very end, if you have been here through the whole episode, we ask you for a emoji. So this week's emoji, I would think, since we're talking about, the reasonable expectation of privacy on your cell phone, give us a cell phone or any phone. I don't know anybody that has a landline anymore. Do you? If you know anybody that has a landline, let us know. But I do not. So if you've been with us through this entire episode, please like, subscribe. We love it when you like, subscribe, and especially if you share and leave us an emoji of a cell phone. I hope y'all have a very good week, a very good weekend, and be nice to everyone.
Whether you're in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comments section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.
You lost. And you know what you did.